A little bit ago, I was at my grandfather's house and I watched as he held a dead pigeon squab in his hands. And he was on the verge of tears, and it fascinated me because I had never seen him that vulnerable. And that's when I first became interested in his connection to pigeons. I decided to make this documentary to learn more about his relationships with pigeon racing and showing. But this project has meant more to me because I started to understand my grandfather better. We never had a particularly close relationship, but through this process, I realized that we both had something that connected us. We both loved telling stories.
You clap. That was perfect.
What did you expect from me?
How many years have you been involved in pigeon racing and showing?
I would say 70.
Do you have like any fond memories that you would like to share?
Yeah, one of the fondest memories I have is from the National Young Bird Show. Jeannie and I had gone down to Louisville, Kentucky to show a couple of our young birds, and we won the show, which is quite an accomplishment. And I went to get the bird out of the cage, out of the judging cage, and it was gone. And I'm panicking. And here, Jeannie had taken the bird out of the cage, taken it out to the photographer, and had pictures of the bird taken. But that was one that I think I will always remember.
You're just fine. I'll let you go in a minute. Yeah.
How did you get into pigeon racing and showing?
In respect to racing, I have always been it virtually from birth. Interestingly, on my birthday, my dad won 5 young bird races that fall with a bird he bought from a fella as an egg for 25 cents.
Do you know how your dad got into pigeon racing?
Yes, I do. Would you care to hear about it?
Yes, I would love to hear about it.
My dad grew up in Tower City in the coal regions. My grandfather was a miner. And in order to make some extra money, my dad became a trap boy for pigeon shoots. And what that was a big hole was dug into the ground, then out 25 yards away or 30 yards away were boxes, and there were tunnels that led to each of the traps, and you would put a pigeon in one of those traps. That was my dad. He'd get birds out of a crate, carry them out, put the bird in one of those traps, come back in, signal that the bird was in the trap, and my dad would pull a string and the bird would fly out of the box and it would get shot. Now, not all of them were killed immediately. Several of them would live, and he would pick up some of the live ones and put them in a box of his own and take them home with him.
Is that how he got his pigeons?
That's how he started. And from there he expanded into racing and had them all the time until certain individuals started breaking into his loft and stealing his birds. The last time they were stolen, I never did find them.
Okay.
And that was when my dad said, I'm done.
How did you decide to start doing it again then?
It was a product of heredity and environment. I had my own independent loft at 516 Muhlenberg Street in Muhlenberg Township. And that's when I started racing them. But at that time, there were almost 30 guys in the Reading, Muhlenberg area who had racing pigeons. Today there are none.
Why do you think that is?
To race them, there's a lot of dedication involved. And as a result of birds being imported from foreign countries, new diseases have come into play. Having experienced that, I can tell you it's very discouraging. And it's a lot of work to clean those lofts, to train them. First flight might be a mile away from home. And then on progressive training flights, you'd go further and further and further and further and further. For example, our first race back in those days was Baltimore, Maryland. And I would take them down to Bel Air, Maryland, as far as Bel Air, Maryland. You wouldn't lose a feather during training. Would come the first 2 races, you'd lose them.
How would you feel when you'd like lose them?
It would be upsetting, especially if you lost multiple numbers.
Why do you think it was upsetting?
Love of the birds.
Why did you stop pigeon racing and start showing instead?
I suspect that I was somewhat tired of driving miles and miles, hundreds of miles, in various stages in order to train them birds, get them ready, get them in condition. And so I thought, well, showing's a lot easier. Catch them, put them in a box, take them to the shows, and show them, which I did. And so it's lasted up until the last 2 years, when my wife Jeannie has taken it over, because I simply can't or won't do it myself, the care and whatnot.
So do you separate them for a reason?
Well, yeah, the cockbirds and the hens will
Meat.
constantly be laying eggs. if you
Oh,
don't.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want any more little ones. Well, when Rod got sick and he really couldn't go out and take care of them, I like the birds, and I like to take care of birds because I used to raise canaries of my own. And,
And parakeets.
no, I didn't have a parakeet, I had a canary.
Here, you raised parakeets.
Canary.
Here. Parakeets.
Whatever. So then Rod taught me about mating the birds and, how the birds are supposed to look and how they're supposed to feel and everything. Then I went out and learned how to clean the pen and feed them and water them and give them a bath. And
Which one?
so now I do that every day. Come on. You gonna come over? Come here.
So thankful for her love for the pigeons. But more importantly, her love of me.
Oh.
He would like her to come over there in that box with him.
Oh.
So they can have little ones.
You sell your pigeons, right? Or do you sell them
Used to
still?
sell them.
Okay, used to.
The most money that Jeannie and I ever got, I had a hen who was called Jeannie. We called her Jeannie. And some rich guy from North Carolina offered me $1,500 for her.
Whoa.
And I didn't want to sell her. I was reluctant to sell her. And I talked to Jeannie about it, and she said, sell it. You can get that kind of money for it, sell it. So we sold it to him for $1,500. And that was the most, by far, that we ever got for a showbird. But right now, since we're in the process of eliminating them, we're giving them away.
Do that.
They
They
put-
take the down feathers and they put them in a pigeon man's pocket when he dies. We did that for your great-grandfather. So I already picked out some pigeon feathers from the old guy. Since he's the one that's living so long. For Rod. And have them in the house.